Hiker Jay here. This week I have sort of like a versus review for you between two pillows for backpacking or camping. The Thermarest Airhead and then the Klymit Luxe. Both of them are blow-up pillows that have a quilt covering on them. Now, I did a video a while ago on blow-up pillows for backpacking and camping or overlanding, and it was this style with like, you know, this kind of nylon-y front on them, and you can check that video out here up on the right. And I love these pillows. They're super light. But when you're in really hot weather and stuff, they're just kind of clammy, and I end up putting like a sweatshirt or t-shirt over it. So I have really loved that the companies have come out with these quilt coverings that you can put on them and wash them and clean them, but also they're so comfortable instead of having to have something extra. If this is the first time on my channel, thanks for stopping by. If you could hit subscribe, that'd be awesome. And as always, all the products I'll be talking about will be down in the description down below, so you can check them out anytime. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each one individually from like the outside in, and then I'll pull them back together and I'll give you my impressions or opinion on the two of them. The one thing I will start out by saying is that the Thermarest is about $10–15 more than the Klymit, so keep that in mind when I am breaking them down as well. Let's start with the Klymit. So the Klymit is a little bit shorter. It's about 4 to 5 inches thick all the way around, and it's the same all the way around. It does seem like it has a little bit larger size here than in the back. So I have found that there is a side that works better if you're a side sleeper, like in that crooks of your neck. If you go, you can go to the other side too, but you'll find that it does feel like it's a little bit bigger on this side than on that side. But otherwise it's pretty symmetrical. So otherwise it's pretty symmetrical all the way around. It is a little bit wider than the Thermarest as well too. So if you want a bigger pillow, this is definitely the bigger one, but it's not as thick a pillow. So the outside quilt, it is just that. It's a quilt. It's got polyester fill in here. On the back, it's more of like a neoprene spandexy type feel. It's very stretchy on the back side of it. But on this side, I really like the comfort of it. It's a lot like a quilt, just like a quilt. It's not super soft material, but it's pretty much like a quilt. I do like that it's a polyester fill because if you get it wet, it'll dry out a little bit faster. Another thing that's important when you're looking at these quilted type of pillows is that can you get to the nozzle? Because if you use a blow-up pillow, you know that you blow it all the way up and then you lay down and then you adjust it from the side to let it out to find that like right spot. Because you really can't blow these up all the way because you just get that ear pressure and it just doesn't feel very well. So you want to get it so that it's nice and comfortable like that and be able to get to it. Both of them easy to get to. This one's a little bit different because it does snap shut and it hides the valve in there once you're all done with it. So you do have to fiddle around, but not a big deal. Pretty awesome. The other thing too is that the hole for actually filling the bladder in there, for pushing the actual blow-up bladder in there, is really small on this one, but it's not a big challenge. It works out pretty well. Now let's deflate it a little bit and get the bladder out so I can show you how that's formed. So one thing for you ultralight type backpackers, what I like about having a pillow like this is that you can get rid of the quilt and drop that weight and just take the blow up part with you if you're backpacking it and really want to go light at that point. But so you can get rid of the quilt, which is kind of cool. Now the inside of this one, at first I was like, wow, I just feel like my head's going to drop into these two big dimples, but it really doesn't because they have a crease in here. I'm not sure you can see where it's been, the different bladder baffles have been sealed into here. But basically this middle one is works out really nicely because what happens is your head cradles into that center spot and stays there pretty nicely. And like I said too, I'm not sure you can see it, but like this side has definitely is bigger than this side. So you will find that there's a more comfortable spot if you want something that's kind of underneath your neck there. Or if you don't, you can switch it to the other side. But as it is by itself, it's a really nice pillow. I do like the material of it. It's not as smooth and shiny as some of their other stuff, just the blow up ones. So on its own, I actually think it would work pretty great. So let's deflate this one and get it down to the smallest size so that once I'm done with the Thermarest, I can compare the two. All right, let's move on to the Thermarest Airhead. Now this one I said was just a little bit more expensive, but you get a couple extra features with it. Number one, it's shaped differently. It's shaped like a kidney bean, right? So it's made for your head like this. Does not work well at all like that. So it's really one way that you use it when you're sleeping. But I find it to be massively comfortable. Now you can see how much bigger it is on this side than it is on this side. And also it caves in on the inside on the middle to hold your head and cradle it there so that you're not kind of like rolling off the thing. This one stays put really nicely. Let's talk about the cover. The cover is not really quilted, it just has these baffle runs. It is down in here, so it's not a polyester, it's down. Why I like that so much is because if you just use a standard like blow up pillow like this, you're often putting like a sweatshirt or a t-shirt over it, because when it's cool out or cold out, all that cold's like generating to your head and pulling all that heat out of you. So the fact that this is down, absolutely love it. I've used it in really hot weather and cold weather, comfortable either way. I don't over sweat with it or whatever. Now the downside of being down is that it doesn't dry as fast. So you would have to dry it out, but I find that this is not thick down, so as long as you get it out and air it out, it can dry out pretty easily. The valve, I love the position of this valve because it's not on the bottom anywhere. It's not on one of the bottom spots or around here. It's up here where your head is not going to be. So it's pretty easy to just reach up and adjust the pressure when you're trying to find that perfect sleep number spot on your pillow where your head isn't just feeling like it's on a hard rock or if it's on something too soft. You can mess with the valve right there. This valve does not hide away, but I don't see that as a problem at all. It doesn't get in the way when you're sleeping. The back is different on this one, so it's got much bigger hole for putting in. It's kind of one of those overlap systems instead of the Klymit, which is smaller. So it's pretty easy to get the bladder in and out of this bag without much trouble. So pulling this cover off, pretty easy to get off. You could wash it, dry it, whatever it might be. And if you're looking for the weight on these two, this one is a little bit heavier, and I think it might be the actual down in the fill here. The Klymit is just about 7 ounces, and this one's about 8 ounces. So this one is a little bit heavier. Now looking at this bladder looks very different. They used a lot of recycled materials and tried to be earth friendly with this, which I love always when a company's trying to do that. But you can see where it's seamed down the center, the kidney shape, and then the extra like supports in the middle. I'm not sure if you can see them that really hold it into that middle spot. The thing I want to point out about that is that this is very rubbery, okay? It's not very comfortable. I mean, I would put this as being much more comfortable than this one. So this one is not, in my opinion, a good option when you're looking to be able to have both, where you might want to go ultralight, get rid of the actual quilt cover, and just carry this. The Klymit is much nicer for that. So it is sort of rubbery, but the construction is great on it. Has these extra pieces over here, so the seams aren't cut too short. I feel like it'd be easy to patch if it did pop, but I have found that it's very, very strong and flexible. Nozzle's awesome. I really love the nozzle on this one, especially that it has the reinforcement around it there too. Now putting these back together on the Klymit, you do want to make sure that these glued seams are towards the bottom, because the top is you can tell which part is the top, and it's a lot nicer. So you want to make sure that's the part that's up against the quilt. This one is a little bit harder to repack, but honestly, how often are you going to do this when you're going to be cleaning it or whatever? You're not going to be doing this out in the field. So it's not a big deal that it's a little bit harder to stuff in. I still think that's really not a game changer. All right, now rolled up and compressed, I do find that the Thermarest gets smaller. It's easier to compress. I don't even have the bag for this anymore. I shove it right in with my sleeping bag. I'm not sure where the bag went to this one, but this one is definitely bulkier, and I don't know if that's because the polyester, the down really crushes small where the polyester has a little bit more fill to it, but it's also bigger, it's wider, so I would expect that this one would be a little bit larger than this one, but they do compress down nicely. I like one that can fit in my compression bag with my sleeping bag, because why do I need another case for it, and why am I carrying another case when this is really part of my sleep system? So this being a versus review, my final thoughts on the two of them in comparison for them, they're both really great pillows. I think you can't go wrong with either one of them, but there are differences between them. I tend to use the Thermarest, which I think is more of a luxury pillow because it is shaped properly and it's smaller. I don't need the extra length. I just need something that's going to hold my head up higher in the center and keep my head nestled into it. But yet the Klymit is really nice because it dries faster with the quilting, and also it works really nice without the quilt by itself too. This one is just kind of rubbery and clammy. Yes, you can put a t-shirt or sweatshirt over it and you could use it, but on the field I would take this one as just the bladder if I was looking for ultralight backpacking. But if I'm camping, car camping, and even backpacking where I'm not going very far, it's definitely the Thermarest Airhead. So it's really up to you. I'd like to know in the comments, what's your preference? Do you think, which one would you go for? As I said too, the links to the products are all down in the description down below, so you can check them out there too. Till next time, just remember, life's a hike, so hike happy, and take a nice pillow with you, because you need to sleep well. You got big hikes the next day. Take care.